Hello, and welcome to The Purposeful Banker, the leading commercial banking podcast brought to you by Q2, where we discuss the big topics on the minds of today's best bankers. I'm Cheryl Brown. Welcome to the show. I'm welcoming John Min to the show today. John is Chief Economist for Monex, a Q2 Innovation Studio partner that provides foreign exchange, risk management, and global payment solutions. And John's also a professor of economics at George Mason University in Virginia. And he's on the advisory board of ClearShift, which is a fintech that enables cross-border payments. John's a busy guy. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
So one thing I love to do with our first time podcast guests is just get to know you a little bit better. So just tell me a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in the banking industry.
Oh man, I can't believe I'm saying this. I've been in the banking industry for 32 years. And in fact, just recently I've been playing with my retirement calculator at my university because technically I'm state of Virginia employee. So yeah, 32, 33 years. I know banking from back in the day was very small. The cross-border payment was like so new. And now it's just blown into one of the largest market in the world ever.
And so you've been with Monex for 7 years, is that right?
7 years. Yeah, previous to that, I started another fintech with my neighbor. We ran that business for like 4 or 5 years, and we made a big mistake. We brought this private equity in because we needed their cash to go to Asia and to Middle East and Europe, and then later private equity folks kicked us out.
A
But
hard lesson learned there.
yes, there's no free lunch. That's what I teach my econ students. There's no free lunch. And we needed the money, but oh gosh, 4 or 5 years later they took us out. But subsequently they built it up and they sold it to another bigger company, Alibaba out of China. So that was it was about $700 million deal. Previous to that, we did a consulting, my business partner and I. So I worked for various banks like JP Morgan, Everbank, and everything else. We help them get enlightened with cross-border payment opportunities and so on. But all this time, I got my MBA, PhD. I ended up being an econ teacher.
So
And
deep experience with foreign exchange.
yeah, and reason I got into teaching is because I thought I was kind of, can I use the word BS on the podcast?
Sure, go for it.
So when the bank in the banking days, I used to say, "Well, this is what's happening. That's what's happening," and I thought I was like BSing people. I really didn't know. So I took graduate school classes for 10 years just to just to figure out how this world operates, global economy, payments, and all that. And I ended up getting a PhD. Not that I was pursuing it, just because I want to be able to know with the confidence what I say to my client is exactly what it is. It's not
Right.
made up, it's not regurgitation of someone else's opinion. So I got that academic side, the business side, but combined, it's a very good combination because a lot of my students get internship with companies I'm involved in. And then, of course, I bring in the real world example to my classes. So I think everyone benefits now.
And as the chief economist at Monex, you bring that combination of real world experience and academic experience to help banks and credit unions, right?
Yeah, I'm the chief nerdy economist. That's my nickname. I'm that nerdy dude that shows up and answer questions about what are the risks of getting into cross-border payments. And simple questions like why do exchange rates move so much? It changes day to day. I do pretend. Well, I should say I have a strong team that supports me. We do economic forecast for our bank FI clients. We let them know. There's X percentage chance that there will be a recession. We tell them now which way the interest rate might go. And I'm very proud to say there are 96 financial institutions that provide their forecast to Bloomberg on a quarterly basis. And my team has been consistently in top 5 in terms of accuracy. So we're a small team based out of Washington, D.C., but we're very, very good at letting our FI clients know when the road is going to turn, especially when it comes to economy and interest rates. By the way, interest rate is not coming down anytime soon.
Yeah, all of us waiting to buy a car. We're just, you know.
I know. The mortgage, we're waiting for the mortgage. I know there's so many people waiting for the mortgage rates to come down, but I think it's kind of stuck at the current ranges until the inflation comes a little bit more. But with the tariff in the picture, it's gonna be a while before we see the yield curve just settle down a little bit.
Well, that's a great segue to my next question, which, we're here to talk about foreign exchange services, and many financial institutions they may feel like this is unfamiliar territory for them. Like they don't offer this to their business customers. They usually send them, I guess, down the street to Wells Fargo or wherever. But you're saying they may be missing something by doing that.
Missing a lot. From the customer service point of view, they're missing a lot because the world has become so much more globalized. There are so many imports and exports, but more importantly, the whole e-commerce just exploded. People are buying stuff from different websites, e-commerce sites. So there's a lot of cross-border commercial activities, which means behind the scene, there's a lot of financial transactions or the cross-border payments. So there's a need for it. And if you're a small to mid-sized FI and you don't see that much of cross-border payments, that's because your customers are walking with their feet. They're going to these bigger financial institutions that can provide that service. Now, there's a spillover effect. It's not that they don't like the local FIs they have gotten to know, they trust, it's in the community, except they're buying things from, let's say, French wine from a supplier, the vineyard in France, and they want to get paid in euros. And if your FI is not providing competitive rates of service, delivery, whatever it might be, then they're forced to go to larger banks and then open up a bank account to do the transactions. Now your deposit is at a risk. So it's like a selection bias. You don't know what you don't know. You don't see what you don't see, right? Because if you don't see those cross-border payments, well, then you may say, well, there's no need for it in our market. But reality could be those customers are walking with their feet, with their deposit to larger financial institutions.
And the truth of the matter is that, it's no longer just large companies that need, foreign exchange, right? It dribbles down all the way into maybe some of the smallest,
Yeah,
maybe
and
sole proprietorships,
you'll be surprised. I mean, right now, the small to mid-sized businesses have tapped into international supply chain. So every community I know has companies that import parts, materials, the wholesalers, they import chocolates from Switzerland, they sell at retail. And, even the individuals are getting involved. If you go to some of these e-commerce websites, those goods are coming from overseas, and some of them want to get paid in local currencies. So yes, the need for cross-border payments is roughly about 20% of our GDP. That's about our imports. So it's a significant part of commercial activities in every community that I can think of.
So we've kind of established the need
Mhm.
for financial institutions to do this. What's been keeping them from doing it before now? Why don't they already offer it?
Because foreign exchange is foreign to them, because they never got into it. Back in the 1970s, we lived in a world that was dominated by US dollars. Everyone wanted to get paid in dollars. Everyone sent dollars. So you didn't have to worry about uh, Spanish peseta, Polish zloty, or Italian lira. Why deal with all that? Just send dollars and dollars. But now you fast forward 30, 35 years, you got folks overseas, they want to get paid in their local currencies because if you send dollars to them, you're causing a lot of headache for them because they receive dollars and they have to convert it to local currency. And then they have no idea what the conversion is going to be. And some of these banks overseas, when they receive in dollars, when they convert it, they make extra fee charges. So the suppliers overseas or the beneficiaries overseas, they're increasingly saying, pay us in our currency, especially like euro, Japanese yen, Swiss franc. These are major currencies, and it's no longer a dollar-dominated global economy, and this trend will continue. So, we all need to embrace the fact that reality is other countries use other currencies.
And you mentioned tariffs before. We all read the news, and we know that tariffs are a hot topic right now. Are tariffs going to affect that use of foreign exchange? Will it increase it, decrease it? have no
Well,
effect?
actually, we have not seen it. Well, I will take it back. The last 3 months has been the record months for us because everyone is front loading, so they've been doubling up on their imports, inventories to build all that. So there's been actually more need for cross-border payments. Another pattern that we're seeing is that the high tariff, 145% is imposed on goods from China. So a lot of companies are now looking for suppliers in other markets. Now in China, they accept dollars, but now they're looking for suppliers in Vietnam, Malaysia, India as an alternative to circumvent the tariff, right? But then these countries want to get paid in Vietnamese dong, Indian rupee. Now these are more exotic currencies. So a lot of smaller FIs may provide uh, cross-border payment services for major currencies, but these are exotic currencies. And to provide exotic currencies, you have to go to bigger banks like HSBC, Wells Fargo, because they have a broader coverage. So that's another uh, I don't, it's not opportunity. I guess it's an opportunity for bigger banks to attract more customers and deposits because they offer those type of currencies. So it's really important to have a broad range, and the tariff is forcing importers, businesses in the United States, to look for these type of currencies they never dealt with, and obviously that requires additional services. And if you're a small fintech and you're not providing the services, not only are you missing out, but you're putting your deposit base at risk.
So you mentioned before that if you don't think that you have foreign exchange happening among your customer base, then it's probably because they're getting it elsewhere. How can
Yes.
smaller and community and regional sized banks and credit unions, how can they find that information? What should they be looking for among their customer data to let them know that they need to offer this service?
So we have identified, I call it supercluster communities in all over the United States. And some of the common theme, the pattern that we see is that if you have a large university in your footprint, guarantee there's a significant amount of cross-border payments. If you have a military in your footprint, there's a lot of military bases, I should say. Then you have a lot of cross-border payments. If you have a lot of international businesses like Charlottesville, Charlotte, uh, uh, somewhere in South Carolina with all the German auto parts suppliers, Tennessee near Toyota plant with all the suppliers. There's a massive amount of cross-border payments. And if you live in a zip code with about 15 to 20% of the population is foreign born, then there's a tremendous amount of cross-border payments. So there are some markers that you can use. And in fact, that at my university, I utilize my students as TAs. So we look at the FI zip code, the footprint, and we can pretty much figure out what's the hot area, what's not. And you'll be surprised. We found a super cluster or the super opportunity for cross-border payments in Huntsville, Alabama. That's
Hmm.
because of NASA, by the way. And there's a lot of scientists from all over the world there. And then North Carolina, Research Triangle, massive amount of cross-border payments. And then place in Tennessee, because apparently there's a lot of Japanese restaurants because there's Toyota Honda plant. And whenever there's a plant, there's a lot of secondary suppliers from overseas. They put the plant next to it for this just-in-time supply management. And that creates a lot of payments. And of course, right down the street from us is the World Bank, IMF. So I'm at the middle of the one of the supercluster areas. But here's another rule of thumb: if you have a wine importer in your footprint, yes, there's a cross-border payments. They import containers of wine every month, and they're like $30,000-$40,000 worth of cross-border payments they have to make on a regular basis.
Well, and I would think that because community and regional banks, they're so good. One of their things that they're so good at is knowing their community. And
Yes.
I just think about where I live. I'm in Richardson, Texas. You would not think that I'm just the first suburb north of Dallas. You would not think of Richardson, Texas, as being a hub for Asian cuisine, but we are. We have a little China area of town where we have Asian cuisine from every part of Asia that you can imagine, all home owned, by
Yep.
people, and that they're importing the food,
Not only
the
that,
ingredient.
I bet there's a surge of Indian rupee wire transfers.
Oh, yes, we do. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
So,
I do know for a fact. We just did analysis. Dallas area, Houston, mega centers for cross-border payments.
so if you just look around your community, you might see, hey, I know that family that owns that restaurant. They're in my customer. They're in my customer. They're one of my customers, but they're not using me for their foreign
No,
exchange.
and the reason they're not using it is because they want to get competitive pricing on exchange rates. They want the wires to go out and get to the beneficial reasonable time. And a lot of times when you're a small FI and you're using a corresponding bank, the corresponding bank has absolutely no incentive to provide competitive pricing when it comes to conversion or the delivery. So it takes 2, 3, 4 days for the wire to settle, get to the beneficiary. Along the way, if you have other corresponding banks involved, everyone takes a piece of cut. So when you send the money out, the actual money amount of money that's received may be different than what you thought. So if you are not happy with the service, especially on the domestic side, now we're getting used to real-time payments. You get frustrated. It's like, why is it taking us so long? It should be next day or the same day. So then they start looking around, and obviously that's when they go directly to these larger banks and open up a bank account.
And then
And
you told
that's when your deposit is at risk.
Right. You told me a story, a personal story, your own story about
Yes.
how this affected your own relationship with your regional bank. Can you tell us
So
that story?
yeah, my school has a credit union. It's called Apple. Apple Credit Union. It's phenomenal. I know everyone there. I mean, I've been using that for the past 20 some odd years. Great service. It's almost like a family. You go in, you spend 20 minutes talking to everyone. And the great service when it comes to car loans, home equity loans, and all that. Except I do consulting overseas, and I advise company in London as well. And I have to send money and receive money. And when I had to send money to London, I had to fill out a form. And then I submitted the form, and they could not tell me how much it was going to cost until it got debited from my account. And they could not tell me when the wire will get there. They said anywhere from 3 to 4, 5 days. Literally, I can imagine someone walking into a wire room, logging onto one of the big bank services platform and punching it in, right? So then I said, okay, this is unacceptable. Oh, the point happened was when I received funds from overseas, um, I got charged for receiving international fund. That was $45. And I said, no, this is unacceptable. So I went down the street, opened a bank account at Truist. Not that because I needed another bank account, but I needed for my international aspect of doing business. And then, of course, that was 7, 8 years ago. And now all my money deposit is with Truist. And then
Hmm.
I use my Apple credit account to just receive the payroll direct deposit twice a month. And once I receive it, I transfer it to Trust, and then I send the wire in and out 24/7 using their platform. So that's exactly the case where forget about making money on the cross-border payments. I mean, that's added benefit. The real benefit is defending and growing your deposit base.
Yeah, creating those sticky relationships that will keep a customer
Exactly.
with you down the road. So I can imagine that one of the we talked about it a little bit before. One of the reasons that smaller banks and credit unions aren't already doing this is because they maybe don't understand it. But
Yep.
it doesn't have to be that hard, right? I mean,
No,
with somebody like Monex, and just a little plug here for Q2 and our innovation studio, using a fintech like Monex to kind of take the guesswork out of that and take the complexity out of it. There's no reason that smaller banks and credit unions can't get on board and start offering this, right?
no, it's just like a flipping a switch because we're integrated to Q2 through API. So if you need to make cross-border payments, you are just accessing our services through Q2 real time, and all our international wires are settled within a day or the same day. And our conversion is very competitive and reasonable. Our wire fee is not 50, 60, $70. It's very reasonable. And you also will have access to what's known as, we call it Domino's Pizza Tracker. We can tell you exactly where your international transfer is along the route. So you're getting a first in class service all through your Q2 platform.
And, it really, we've been talking this week for a lot about small businesses. And on this podcast, we talk a lot about small businesses and their need to really do their financial dealings on the go quickly, little headache. So this is just
Yep.
one of the ways that as a financial institution, you can become more of a partner for your small business customers.
Yeah,
Um,
not only that, there's a financial benefit to the FIs because we convert dollars to foreign currency. So there's a conversion fee that's about 1 to 2%. Now, some of the bigger banks will charge 3, 4, 5%. So even at 2%, you're providing a great competitive conversion rate. But at the same time, we're willing to share that revenue with our FI client or the customer. That would be our customer. So this becomes not only added value service, but it could generate recurring revenue that's fee based. It's not interest rate based. So it's a nice way to diversify your revenue source. And these are payments. So the wine importers will buy 1 or 2 containers every month. And as we get to the holiday season, 3, 4 containers. Each container is worth about 30, 40, $50,000 worth of notional value. At 2%, it's about $800, $900 worth of revenue potential. Based on the revenue split arrangement, we put it in a contract with the FIs. You can make $200, $300. So really the revenue potential is not in the international wire fee. That's what the banks are focused on, but it's really in the exchange rates. Now, if you're giving all this to larger banks to do it, because you don't have the capability to do it, and these banks, I suspect they're not going to share any of that revenue. So all that hidden revenue is staying with the larger financial institutions. So you can bring it in-house and you can monetize it as well.
and you said how many countries, how many currencies does Monex support?
We cover 142 currencies. Any currency that State Department says is not regulated that we cover. And it's turning out to be a tremendous advantage for us in the marketplace because, again, businesses are diversifying their supply chain. So they're dealing with brand new country or the currencies like, I need Indian rupee, I need Colombian peso, Brazilian reals. Vietnamese dong and Malaysian ringgits. It's like, wow. It's like going to a world buffet now. It used
So
to be back in the day, just China, China, maybe Japan, maybe Europe. It was just boring, but now we got so many different currencies
we're
that
truly a
companies are
global
looking.
economy. Yeah, truly,
Yes. And
truly.
the tariff is accelerating that because companies are diversifying away from China.
Yeah. So FIs, if you're looking for a way to serve businesses of any size to make those relationships stronger, this is a way that you can do that. Something that maybe you're not thinking about offering. Consider consider this.
And it's very easy to do. It's very easy to do. It's just plug and play through the Q2 core processing.
And for those that are Q2 clients, I'll put a link to our innovation studio in the show notes, and contact us, and we can get you connected with Monex. So, John, thank you so much. I appreciate your insights. This has been I knew nothing. Debbie Smart. I always talk about Debbie Smart. Debbie Smart. I met you at NACHA.
Yes, we had a great time. She actually came to our session because we had a partner bank on the stage with us, and our job is to educate at NACHA because there's so many opportunities for small to mid-sized FIs to capitalize on it and take
And she,
advantage of it and provide better service.
and she said you got to talk to John on the podcast. I knew nothing about foreign exchange, so thank you. You've given me just a little bit of information, enough to be dangerous probably, but thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
And that's it for another episode of The Purposeful Banker. A reminder to all of our listeners to share your feedback on our podcast content. You can go to q2.com/pod survey, take a short 10 question, brief little survey, and let us know what you think. There's a link in the show notes for that. You can subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. And you can see our archive of podcasts at hub.q2.com/podcasts. Until next time, this is Cheryl Brown, and you've been listening to The Purposeful Banker.